So today I have a book review for you all. So all for the past 3 months I've been reading a very nice book. Actually, to be honest, it's not 3 months, it's a year. For the past 1 year I've been stuck with this one book which is quite viral or trending nowadays. It's The Palace of Illusions by Chitra Banerjee. So The Palace of Illusion is a book I picked up last year around the same rainy season or around the monsoons. I picked up the book, and honestly, after that, I have been, moving back and forth with other books. So I never had the time really to read this. But this year, I took it and I focused on this book. I wanted to complete this book. So here's a little mini review for you all about this book. So this book is Mahabharat, but through Draupadi's perspective. Now, who is Draupadi? For people who don't know, Mahabharat is a famous epic text in the Hindu religion, and Mahabharat is all about the five Pandavas, the Kauravas, their battle in Kurukshetra, and all the political aspects related to it. Now, here's a character, Draupadi, who was the wife of all the five Pandavas. Okay, so she was married to all five Pandavas, who were Kunti and Madri's children. Now, you can find the whole lineage while you are reading the text in Mahabharata. You can find the whole lineage, how the five Pandavas were born through Kunti and Madri. You can find it in a different text. You can read probably Mahabharata or this book for that. You will find the lineage in the first page of the book itself. So this book is talking about feminism through Draupadi's perspective. Like what character was she playing right from the point where she took birth? Like she had a fire birth, so she basically didn't have the normal course of birth. She came out through a fire. She came out of a fire where her father was performing a yagna for around 100 days, and after that, she was born to change history. So what is the context behind this? You'll again know it in the book. So from her birth to her death, the way she played a part, okay, the way she grew up in the court, the way she rebelled against the norms that were there for women in those days, the way she reacted when she knew that, okay, this is the love of my life, but I can't marry him, but because he's a potential enemy of my dad or my brother, so मैं इससे शादी नहीं कर सकती, right? So that was Karna, by the way, which is mentioned in the book. So I can't marry him. तब how she reacts to the whole thing कि मुझे ये पसंद है, I like him. The whole drama, Karna Draupadi drama, is there in the book, so you can refer to this book again. Like how she likes him, but still she can't do anything about it. Everything is given, but from her perspective, how love feels for her, and yet मैं उससे शादी नहीं कर सकती because the thing is that he's an enemy. That time, what she does, plus the time when Arjun wins her hand, her reaction to that कि अभी मुझे इसके साथ I have to spend my whole life. But here's a catch. Kunti tells Arjun and his four brothers कि तुम लोगों को भी इसके साथ शादी करनी होगी, which is quite unlikely for those days. हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं a lot of BCs behind, where women were not allowed to have more than one husband, but men could have more than one wives. Yet Draupadi, whose name by the way was also Panchali, she was married to five of them. Her reaction to that whole drama, the marriage, how was she going to give herself to the five of them? So तो जो वेद व्यास होते हैं, वो एक लेटर भेजते हैं किंग द्रौपद को. ओके, उस टाइम पे ये लोग अपने पिता के पास, लाइक द्रौपदी एंड ऑल आर गॉन टू द फादर विद द 5 हस्बैंड्स. तो वहाँ पे उनको एक लेटर भेजते हैं कि दिस विल बी द वे इट इज सपोज टू बी कैरिड आउट, कि द्रौपदी विल बी अ वाइफ टू पांडवास इन वन ईयर. मतलब एक ईयर में एक पांडवा के साथ वो होगी. देयर वर स्ट्रिक्ट रूल्स कि अगर वो एक पांडवा के साथ है, which means if she is with Yudhishthir, then the other people cannot interfere in their married life. They are as good as brothers to her. Okay, they cannot touch her during that whole period, whole 1 year. वो उससे बात नहीं कर सकते. अगर बात कर रहे हो, they have to keep their gaze down. all these things were given. Now जब मैंने ये पोर्शन पढ़ा था ना, when I read about how this whole arrangement is done for one woman, I felt very empowered in a way. Okay, not empowered because a lady is getting married to five husbands or stuff. Empowered because for one woman, how the arrangement were beautifully arranged around her कि उसको there should be no discomfort for her, there should be no problem for her कि उसको ये नहीं होना चाहिए कि मैं किसके पास जाऊँ या क्या करूँ. It was meant so that she herself is in a situation कि वो हर एक को time दे सके. Then the second thing about this book I liked is the way it has portrayed Draupadi's, the great humiliation of Draupadi. कैसे लिखा है इस बुक में, इट्स मेंशन्ड वेरी ब्यूटिफुली. द वे उसका रॉ एंगर होगा, द टाइम व्हेन शी इज बीइंग ह्यूमिलिएटेड इन कोर्ट. ओके, the raw anger that she had to undergo so much humiliation. The elders, the men sitting over there couldn't do anything for her. That anger, प्लस उसके हस्बैंड्स के ऊपर जो एंगर था, बिकॉज ऑफ होम, ओके, उसके हस्बैंड्स की वजह से ही शी वॉज इन दैट पोजिशन. अभी क्यों, कैसे, द होल बैकग्राउंड मैं आपको अभी इसमें नहीं बताऊंगी. द होल थिंग इज अगेन मेंशन्ड इन द बुक, आप पढ़ सकते हो. तो उसके हस्बैंड्स की वजह से उसकी हालत हो गई थी. दैट एंगर, कैसे वो उस एंगर को, वो ह्यूमिलिएशन को अपने अंदर रखती है. शी इज़ नॉट अ पर्सन ऑफ लेटिंग गो. मैं बता दूँ फॉर ओके हेड्स अप दे दूँ कि द्रौपदी एक ऐसा कैरेक्टर है विच हु इज़ वेरी रिबेलियस. शी डजंट बिलीव इन नॉर्म्स एंड बाउंड्रीज. शी इज़ अ पर्सन हु फेस्टर्स हर एंगर. अगर उसको किसी के पास हेट्रेड है, शी विल फुल्ली फेस्टर इट टू द ब्रिम. पूरा अपने अंदर रख के भर भर के वो भड़ास रखेगी. दैट इज द्रौपदी फॉर यू. वो पूरी अल्फा फीमेल है. ओके, कंप्लेनिंग, बिकरिंग, नहीं पसंद है, वो नहीं पसंद है, अपने हस्बैंड्स को ऊपर नीचे करा देगी, बट शी विल नॉट कीप हर सेल्फ डाउन एट ऑल कॉस्ट, एट एनी कॉस्ट. सो दैट इंटरेस्टेड मी अ लॉट कि कैसे उसने वो ट्रांसफॉर्म ही पूरा कर दिया. दैट वाज हर कर्स कि उसका जब चीरहरण हुआ होता है, देन एवरीथिंग इज यू नो उसका जब चीरहरण हुआ था, आफ्टर दैट शी pronounces a curse. वो श्राप देती है to the whole Kuru clan that nobody will be alive और सब मारे जाएंगे, and that's what happens, right? So it is mentioned in the book that she feels guilty later on कि मेरी वजह से कहीं I was an instrument in carrying out or bringing out the war. So she feels guilty as well about it. But उसका जो कर्स है, उसकी वजह से थोड़ी चीज़ें इनिशिएट तो हुई थी. So that whole part, or the part where she is so attached to her friend and the greatest of the great, भगवान श्री कृष्ण. उसकी जो फ्रेंडशिप दिखाई है ना विद कृष्णा इज सो रॉ, सो रियल, लाइक एज इफ मैं अपने फ्रेंड के साथ बात कर रही हूँ, नॉट नोइंग दैट द फ्रेंड इज डिवाइन. मेरा कोई फ्रेंड है एंड दैट पर्सन इज गॉड हिमसेल्फ, मुझे पता नहीं है. आई एम जस्ट थिंकिंग ऑफ हिम लाइक अ फ्रेंड, लेकिन वो तो भगवान है. सो दैट होल बैंटर, दैट होल रिलेशनशिप, लेटर उसको कैसे रियलाइज होता है कि he is the one who had been with her all these years of her life. So yeah, those are quite interesting parts of the book. And so द्रौपदी का जो बर्थ है, टू गिव अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ स्टोरी, मैं चलो थोड़ा बता ही देती हूँ आपको. तो द्रौपदी का जो बर्थ है, it was a fire birth. It was not a normal birth. For the people, this is for people who don't have any idea about what I'm ये जो मैं बात कर रही हूँ, what I'm talking about, उन लोगों के लिए ये थोड़ा स्टोरी है. So Draupadi's birth was through fire. तो उसके जो पिता है, who is King Draupad, he had done a yagna, okay, because he wanted to take बदला from द्रोणाचार्य. उसका पूरा बैकग्राउंड भी आपको पता चल जाएगा. So द्रोणाचार्य was also a teacher to the पांडवास. तो ये किंग द्रौपद को लेना था बदला फ्रॉम द्रोणाचार्य, तो वो करता है यज्ञ, बिकॉज ही वांटेड अ सन. ओके, द सन हु कैन फाइट अ वॉर फ्रॉम हिम, फॉर हिम अगेंस्ट द्रोणाचार्य. तो जो यज्ञ करता है वो 100 days के लिए, तो उस आग से बाहर आता है उसका सन, हु इज दृष्टद्युम्न. ओके, सो दृष्टद्युम्न के बाहर आते ही there is somebody else who comes out of the fire, who is Draupadi. And also she is meant to change history. उसके बारे में ये prophecy होती है कि this woman, this girl will change history. Okay. और एक bit mentioned है in the book where actually she meets ऋषि वेदव्यास. Okay, he is उसको पहले बताया हुआ है कि that he is a nominal sage, कोई बताता है ऐसे भविष्य वगैरह. तो उसकी जो दाई माँ है, who is actually her दाया, who is her maid servant, तो वो उसको वेद व्यास के पास लेके जाती है, टेलिंग ही इज जस्ट अ नॉर्मल सेज. उसको ये नहीं पता होता है कि दिस इज को प्रॉबली द ग्रेटेस्ट पर्सन, ही इज द ऑथर ऑफ महाभारत. इसको ऑब्वियसली वो कैसे याद आइडिया होगा. सो शी गोज टू हिम. ओके, शी थिंक्स ऑफ हिम लाइक अ नॉर्मल सेज जो कुछ भविष्यवाणी करने वाला है, एंड देयर ही टेल्स हर द एंटायर कोर्स ऑफ हर लाइफ इन अ फ्यू वर्ड्स. ओके, और तभी उसको रियलाइज होता है कि दिस इज वॉट इट मीन्स बाय चेंजिंग हिस्ट्री, दिस इज वॉट आई मेंट टू डू. ओके, ही सेड यू विल हैव ग्रेट ग्लोरी, तुम बड़ी रानी बनोगी, यू विल बी रियली ग्लोरियस, बट एंड में तुमको लोनली रहना पड़ेगा. द गिल्ट ऑफ अ लॉट ऑफ women losing their husbands will lie on you. So these things are what Vedvyas tells her at that point of time. एंड शी इज़ वेरी स्केर्ड. उसको बहुत घबराहट होती है. शी इज़ वेरी हैप्पी एट फर्स्ट कि उसको एक बहुत बड़े पैलेस में रहने मिलेगा. ओके, दैट पैलेस विल बी नथिंग एज लाइक नथिंग दैट इंडिया हैज़ सीन एवर, भारत हैज़ सीन एवर. उसको ऐसे पैलेस में रहने मिलेगा, which is the title of the book, by the way. I'll come to that. So ऐसे पैलेस में रहने मिलेगा. she'll be a very glorious queen, she'll be remembered as the woman who had 5 husbands. Okay, ऐसे सब उसका होगा. अच्छा पार्ट भी बताया उन्होंने, बट बुरा पार्ट भी बताया that she'll initiate the greatest war humanity has ever seen. she'll be the initiator for that. A lot of women losing their husbands, उसके ऊपर वो गिल्ट रहेगा, and she'll be lonely as ever throughout her life. वो जो प्यार को ढूंढ रही है, वो जो पैशन को ढूंढ रही है, that will always not be with her. Okay, all that Vedvyas tells her. But he also tells her one thing. अभी द्रौपदी इज वेरी स्केर्ड. ओके, ये सब सुन के कि इतने सारे लोगों का बोझ मेरे सर पे आएगा, आई विल बी विडोइंग सो मेनी विमेन. तो वो बोलती है हाउ कैन आई अवॉइड दिस, मेरे को तो ये चाहिए नहीं, हाउ कैन आई अवॉइड दिस. तो वेदव्यास उसको 3 चीज़ें बोलते हैं विच वॉज एपिक. लाइक यू शुड रीड द बुक and I will tell you what those 3 things are, but you should read the book. It is written in a very epic way. तो ये पेज नंबर 40 पे है. ओके, जहाँ द्रौपदी बैठती है. ओके, सो शी इज सिटिंग विथ हिम और वो बोलती है कि प्लीज मैम, शी टेल्स प्लीज कैंट यू शेप माइंड सो दैट आई डोंट हार्म दोज नियरेस्ट टू मी. दैट्स व्हाट द्रौपदी टेल्स वेदव्यास कि ये मेरा चेंज कर दो, ये पूरा डेस्टिनी. कांट यू चेंज इट? अगर आप मुझे बता सकते हो तो ऑब्वियसली यू कैन चेंज इट, राइट? तो ऐसा बोलती है वो सेज को कि आप चेंज कर लो, ये जो है मेरे भाग्य में लिखा है, यू प्लीज चेंज इट. सो वेदव्यास टेल्स, वो पहले इसमें सटायर में अपना सिर हिलाता है. ही शुक हिज हेड and he tells her, please read this listen to this carefully. Only a fool meddles in the great design. Beside, your destiny is born of lifetime of karma, too powerful for me to change. वो बोलता है मैं तो कर ही नहीं सकता क्योंकि आपका जो डेस्टिनी है इट्स ऑलरेडी बाउंड बाय अ लॉट ऑफ प्रीवियस लाइफ का कर्मा, तो ये मेरे लिए पॉसिबल नहीं है. बट ही सेज आई गिव यू सम एडवाइस. 3 dangerous moments will come to you. The first will be just before your wedding. At that time, hold back your question. The second will be when your husbands are at the height of their power. At that time, hold back your laughter. And the third will be when you're shamed as you'd never imagined possible. At that time, hold back your curse. Maybe it will mitigate the catastrophes to come. So these 3 moments are quite very well described in the course of this book. आगे जाके आप लोगों को दिखेगा कि कैसे ये 3 moments आते हैं उसकी ज़िंदगी में. As Vedvyas predicted, as Vedvyas ने उसका जो 3 moments बताया था, those dangerous 3 moments जो कि उसके life defining moments, I would say those are the life defining moments that she has in the course of her life, वो आते हैं and she commits the same mistakes and that alters the whole history. अगर वो लाइक it keeps you in a thinking loop. आप थिंक करते हो, खुद थिंक करते हो that if she would have avoided these 3 things, कितना बड़ा, like how many things would be prevented. The great, I don't think the Kurukshetra war would have happened. Correct. So she says she is the initiator, but when she's dying in the end of the book, Krishna says a very beautiful thing to her which actually justifies कि ये क्यों हुआ. Because when you're in the middle of the book, suddenly you realize कि why, when she knew, when Vedvyas had told her कि particularly ये चीज़ मत करो, why couldn't she just avoid doing those things? Then, when you actually reach the end of the book, that's when Krishna tells her something. You understand why she could not do those things. Yeah, why she couldn't prevent those things. Her laughter, her question, her curse. Why couldn't she prevent those things? Krishna tells her at the end of the book that you are an instrument and I am the doer. So basically, you're an instrument to carry out your destiny or the plan that I had planned, and I am the doer. So मैं ही वो control कर रहा था basically, and you were just an instrument to carry it out. So how could she prevent all this, right? So you get an answer over there. That is why this book is really beautifully written, because you don't get your answer all at once in a clumped up space. You get it bit by bit, piece by piece, and you really need to understand and absorb one whole chapter. Isliye I used to read this one chapter one day. That is the way you can read this book. You please don't read this book in 3 days and 4 days. I don't think so. Recently, I think Alia Bhatt put up a video in which she said that I read this book in 3 days. And I was like, how can you read a book in 3 days? It's so difficult. This type of book needs to be relished. It needs to be read part by part. That is when you get the essence of the book. Okay. And for people who are non-Hindus, like who are from some other religion, also refer to internet for the description of characters. कोई characters you won't understand immediately, and please see the lineage. पहले आप lineage से ज़रा वाकिफ हो जाओ, and then you can read the rest of the book. Like for example, the lineage is given on page number, yeah, here the lineage is given just after the introduction and all. यहाँ पे पूरा उनका lineage दिया हुआ है, starting from who was King Shantanu, उसने कहाँ से marry किया, then who was Bhishma Pitama, who is also a major character by the way. So you should read, you should actually see this whole chart, the flow chart, and then you should search on Google. Okay, for those people who have not read the epic. Final thoughts about the book. The characters mentioned in the book are very up to the point. Obviously, some people, I've read some reviews about the book that Karna is given a lot of a lot of importance in parts of the book where Draupadi is seen having a lot of affection for Karna, and that angle is not mentioned in the real epic, which is the Mahabharata. It's not mentioned because Mahabharata is a compilation of a lot of political, political aspects of the Kurukshetra war, then the political aspects of the kingdoms of Hastinapur and the kingdoms of Indraprasth. So that is what the Mahabharata epic is all about. That's what I read online. But there is no angle of love mentioned. Like ये जो चीजें हैं which is mentioned in a fictional novel like this, these are absent in the real Mahabharata. Okay, so this is what you can expect. This is a novel, obviously it will have some creative liberty from the author. Some people do criticize it कि ये उन्होंने कुछ ज़्यादा ही importance दिया है to this whole angle, but I feel it's a good angle. It's a good way to express a love story कि वो like from a woman's perspective, she was married to 5 people, but she loved someone else. And she says it also. बहुत time में in the book, she has mentioned it कि you don't have control over your heart and your feelings. So she has mentioned it various times in the book. Okay, so you can get a perspective like कि how a woman, as a woman, she was entitled to have her feelings, but because of her parents, her father, her brother, and because of the war, whatever political problems they had, she had to undergo a swayamvar. उस स्वयंवर में भी she couldn't choose the man she loved just to be loyal to her father and to her kingdom. She couldn't choose Karna. She had to choose Arjun, knowing that she had made a mistake. So that angle is beautifully given. This writing of the author is quite emotional. It strikes a lot of chords because this author is quite feminist. Like she is a big advocate of feminism. This is what you get to see in in the whole of book. Okay, because Draupadi जैसा character इतना glorify किया हुआ है इस whole book में. Obviously the book is from her perspective, but उसको इतना ये किया हुआ है, importance दिया हुआ है. All her nuances, her weaknesses, her strengths are given a lot of importance in this book. So you would really relish, especially if you're a woman. You will, and even if you're a man, obviously you'll relish reading this book. There are other books also written by the same author, like for example, The Forest of Enchantments. उसमें सीता के बारे में mention किया हुआ है. It's about the Ramayana, so you can read that also. But yeah, this book has quite it strikes a lot of emotional chord, especially towards the end of the book. And please read it part by part. ये 3 दिन में पढ़ने जैसा book नहीं है. I think you should read it chapter by chapter, and please do back and forth. Like आप Google से भी थोड़ा research कर सकते हो, and then you can come back and read the book. Also, to give a heads up for people who don't have a lot of words in their vocabulary, for people who are not, this book has quite a lot of difficult words, so you can take a dictionary and sit with this book, क्योंकि there are a lot of hard words mentioned as well, so आपको उतना समझ नहीं आएगा. But with the dictionary and with it's easy to understand. इतना hard writing नहीं है. But I feel if you want to really understand the book, for people who really find it a bit difficult to get the gist, I have a trick for you all. There are certain paragraphs which are difficult to understand. You can actually copy those paragraphs, you can put them on ChatGPT and get the commentary, you can get the whole explanation in simple words, that what I have done for certain paragraphs. So if you don't understand, you can do that as well. So my final take is, you should definitely go and buy this book. This book is very nice for people who love mythology, who love Hindu mythology in a particular way. I am a very big fan of Hindu mythology, and that's why I like to read such books more often. So you all can, if you're a fan of Hindu mythology, the great characters in the history of India, you can go forward and buy this book. You can get it at a much cheaper rate on Amazon, because if you go and buy the physical copy in a bookstore, it's much more expensive. Okay guys, thank you for watching. If you have more recommendations of more books for me, you can mention it in the comments. I would like to do a review of more books for you all.